So it turns out you can no longer build in both Centerton or parts of Bentonville. Dunzo, done, kaputs, we over. So how did this happen? How did we not end up being able to build in both Centerton and parts of Bentonville for the next couple of years? Well, let me tell you, it's a 4-letter word, and it's not my favorite 4-letter word, poop. So, let's talk about that. Hey everybody, if you don't know who I am, my name is Phillip Shepard. I'm a local real estate agent located right here in Northwest Arkansas. If you weren't aware, I actually was a real estate broker located in the dumpster fire, the horrible, the no good state of Illinois, the worst. Anyways, I could have moved anywhere I wanted to in America. I could have moved to Asheville, I could have moved to Utah, I could have moved to Colorado, I could have moved to Texas, I could have moved anywhere I wanted to in America. But I chose Northwest Arkansas, and it is by far the best place to live in America, literally by far. If you ever want to talk about why I chose Northwest Arkansas versus anywhere else in America, call me, email me, whatever it is. We can meet up for coffee and talk about, again, why I chose Northwest Arkansas, again, anywhere else in America. Side note, if you are looking to reload to Northwest Arkansas, again, let me know right away. I help so many people every single year move from one state to Northwest Arkansas. My biggest vision, again, is helping as many people move here as possible to, again, the #1 place to live in America. All right, so the first thing we need to talk about is how I was right. So put that out there. I've been warning about this kind of, we'll say, problem for the last year or two. About 2 years ago, I was over at Blake Street, and I overheard a builder talking about and I just honestly just butted in because of my ham and real estate, what's going on. But they were talking about how Centerton has been really kicking back on building permits for Centerton themselves. And I was like, that's interesting, why is that? And so they kind of explained the situation happening both in Centerton and also parts of Bentonville. So after talking to them and kind of doing my own due diligence and research, calling, doing what I do, I found out that there's a major, this is like 2 years ago, there's a major sewer issue happening in Centerton, and Bentonville is kind of on the cusp of other issues as well. So let's kind of cover the Bentonville issue first, then we'll talk about the Centerton obviously in a few minutes. But the Bentonville one was curious to me because I saw a lot of builders starting to actually, let's say, do applications for land that they could legally build on. They're like, we can subdivide this, we have every legal right to, and the city kept pushing back, and eventually they just stopped, or eventually just sued the city because we bought this land, this is the zoning for it, this is what's gonna happen, and we want to do it. So I saw this kickback all the time, and there was a part of it that I knew that it was mostly due, and this is the surface level stuff, is because they didn't want any more single family homes in Bentonville really anymore. It was just a thing. But I didn't know the underlying layer of actually what was going on, because I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense why they don't want single family as much anymore. They need townhouses, they need condos, they want to allocate land for the proper things. I get that, I understand that. So the city is going to push back heavily on single family or make it more challenging, make it more expensive, and just kind of force the builder's hands to honestly build something that actually is useful for the city itself. So that was my kind of back end thinking. What I didn't understand was that actually a big part of it was the reason they also want to push, condos and townhouses and other things is because the sewer system is just at the breaking point of breaking point, essentially. They're right there. They're at the max capacity. So there's parts of Bentonville that are that's a no-go. That's the northeast side of Bentonville as well as the southeast side of Bentonville are they're not allowing anything to happen for foreseeable future. And there's other parts of Bentonville that are definitely stressed as we speak. So that makes sense why they've really pushed back on a lot of those single family places. And by the time that they actually fix this, they're probably not going to even allow single family at all anymore. So I imagine, or if they do allow single family, it's going to be acre lots on the outskirts of Bentonville with north of $1 million houses, because the people have to pay for the land. It has to be, they have to build a big house out there. They ain't gonna build, D.R. Hortons out in Bentonville necessarily. The north side of Bentonville is getting a D.R. Horton development out there. It's gonna be closer to $500,000, $450,000-$500,000 range, which makes sense for that makes sense in a sense of they have to charge that much for the amount of money that they'd invest into the infrastructure, and also to get obviously get the money back, plus money on the housing, etc., etc. I digress. When it comes to Bentonville, makes sense. I get that. It's not fun. It's not good. They have to spend probably $150 million bond at some point, or get a loan from who knows where, to actually make sure the infrastructure is built out for the foreseeable future. Whoa. I made something for you. I made something called 3-day itineraries. So maybe you're looking to take a trip down here, maybe you're looking to check out the whole area, checking to see if it's for you, maybe you're just checking out just vacations. I made 3-day itineraries, like literally day by day, restaurant by restaurant, thing by thing, everything when it comes to Northwest Arkansas. So basically you have a full-on plan of what to do when you roll into town. So maybe you're a adventurer, maybe you're a sports person, maybe you're a foodie, maybe you're a sightseer, maybe you have kids, whatever it is. I have 3-day itineraries linked down below for you. So go ahead and download them and use them when you get down here. Also, you might be using things like Realtor.com, Zillow.com, or Redfin. Way too slow. Notifications, way too slow. That's why I made something called Instant Home Updates. Sounds like what it is, literally it's Instant Home Updates. So enter information below, name, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. Where do you want to move to in Northwest Arkansas? Enter all the information below and make sure to miss a single notification when it comes for home for sale or for rent, all in Northwest Arkansas. Also, every single Friday, I send an email out just talking about all the cool things happening in Northwest Arkansas. What's going on downtown Bentonville? What's going on First Fridays? When is First Thursdays? What's going on in Fayetteville? What new buildings are coming to Springdale? What new things are going on in Rogers? When's the Saturday? There are so many things all the time. Enter your name below, enter your email below. I make sure you get that email every single Friday, but I need you to be aware. I need you to get a heads up. You will get a little fear of missing out, a little, we'll say FOMO, so to speak, but I promise you will be the most informed person eventually when you make it down to Northwest Arkansas. And the second thing we need to cover is actually the Centerton side of stuff. That's even more dicey and more fun. And anyways, but I did hear about this a couple years back where there's issues with the sewer system coming down the pipeline, pun intended, coming down the pipeline for Centerton. And I didn't know why it was the case, but it turns out after doing this kind of came out last couple months or so it's kind of been public knowledge. But what happened was that Centerton has been basically all the gray water, and that's a gentle way of saying that, the gray water coming in, they ship it over to Decatur, and Decatur's doing all the work for Centerton. They're moving all the water, they're cleaning it all out. You know what I'm saying? So, Decatur's doing all the work, and Decatur's like, hey, we ain't got no more capacity anymore. So Centerton's like, they're like, hey, yo, we can't do this anymore. And so Centerton's kind of caught between, like, what are we gonna do? So that's kind of the Chicago version style of Centerton's woes of septic or sewer systems. So basically, I don't think there's really a solution that they've come up with to actually solve this problem. The only thing they can do is actually build out their own sewer system, clean out their own water, and then feed it back into the system. Is probably the only way to do it. And I don't know if they have the tax infrastructure. They're talking about doing a downtown section. I don't know how you're gonna build out a downtown section of Centerton when you don't even have capacity to build homes. So that's a conundrum. But then again, I'm not in the business of building towns. I'm in the business of selling homes, okay? So, not sure how they're gonna handle that. I've heard some solutions. Obviously, one of them is there's nothing on record, but one solution is obviously building out their own sewer system, which is probably the most realistic, or build out Decatur's and then have a deal with them. I don't know. So, regardless of all that, Centerton, that's one thing I always like about Centerton. They're always just pulling off other cities. And it's like, you just kind of have to bite the bullet and just become your own city at some point. You have all the entertainment for Bentonville, you're using Decatur water and sewer system, and you're using Bentonville school district. So it's like, come on, become a city. So, but housing there is way more affordable. It's cool. People just driving from Centerton to Bentonville. So it makes sense. I get it. Anyways, I'm curious to see how Centerton will solve that issue. And I know that it has to be solved here, in the next less than a year. And the third and final question, and this is probably the big question, is what does this mean for housing? What does this mean for living there? Do I have to start, hauling, gray water out of my toilet and put it in my backyard? The short answer is maybe. I don't know. Depends. No, it's a joke. The long and short of it is that you're already starting to see this play out. Bentonville will poo-poo, again, pun intended actually that time, will poo-poo any sort of single-family home structure, large build-out. They will probably allow at some point single-family homes that are probably north of $1 million with decent land, or small land, big homes, sort of 3 stories kind of feel. That's probably one option. Townhouses, always a thumbs up. Townhouses, always a thumbs up. Condos, always a thumbs up. They're definitely gonna make room for those kind of things because it's much needed in the area. But when the actual infrastructure gets done, and they're planning on getting it done 2029, my God. But when it actually gets done, by that time, the city is not gonna really wanna even really talk about single family, large homes anymore, or large projects, 400 or 500 homes, they're going to talk about, condos and townhouses and businesses and walkability and all of those different things. So I get that. I understand that. So fine. When it comes to Centerton, I think they're probably going to limp it along and probably invest into Decatur's system rather than invest in theirs, because they probably have to get EPA rules and years of figuring stuff out, then the funding. So it's almost like you kind of like, if you can just shove money somewhere and make a deal with Decatur, I'm sure that's going to happen. So this is my guess. Decatur has all the EPA stuff already locked in, so they just need to build out and take on that for Centerton. So not quite sure, but regardless, I assume that Centerton is going to solve that issue in the next year or two or less. They have to, for obvious reasons, especially if they want to build out their downtown section, which is on the docket evidently. So regardless, problems will be solved. Will the Waltons get involved? That kind of rhymed. The short answer is I'm sure they will in some fashion, with some sort of random NGO going around giving money in places. So, but then again, I mean, they're building out the area itself, so it kind of comes with the territory. So I get it. So they will probably be involved at some point. Will I know about it? Probably not, honestly. So we probably never will. But that's how the world works sometimes around here. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Again, if you haven't been down to Northwest Arkansas quite yet, I made something called the NWA Starter Pack. Sounds like what it is, literally a starter pack full of all the cool things in Northwest Arkansas. It comes with a 120-page guide, literally made by me, of all the things happening in Northwest Arkansas. Population, demographics, schools, all the things you want to know about Northwest Arkansas, all the cool things happening, all the things right here, 120-page guide, comes right to your home. It comes with my 3-day itineraries, it comes with postcards, it comes with stickers. It comes with this handy dandy, you just get this for obvious reasons, the NWA coloring book, the coloring book, all right? This is just a trip and a half. I think I'm in here somewhere. Hold on. Oh, there I am. Ah. You need this. You want this. I will send this to you, I promise. Anyways, you definitely want the NWA Starter Pack. So it's literally box shipped right to your home. Right to your home. Enter your name below. Enter your address below. Make sure you get that package shipped to you right away. Box right to your home. Side note, it does come with your first free mountain bike, so that's pretty cool. And I know what you're thinking. It's my favorite folder F word. Free! So enter your information below. Make sure to get the package shipped to you right away. All right, guys, see you next one.